Okay. And then what I'm going to do is start. So as everybody should know, we are starting with a new topic today. Our topic that we're doing is functions and relationships. And so if you were with us when we were doing number patterns, you'll see how number patterns and functions and relationships tie in super nicely with each other. The only difference is that when we're dealing with functions and relationships, they still involve number patterns. It's almost just a different way to represent our number patterns. And so if we start, if we have a look over here, the first thing that we're starting with when we are dealing with functions and relationships is we are going to talk about the Cartesian plane. Now, you guys can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you know what I mean when I say the Cartesian plane. Do you know what the Cartesian plane is? If viewer says no, that's okay. We don't have to know. Okay. So I'm seeing a lot of no's, which is what I expected. Um, and so this is something new. It's something new that you guys haven't really seen before, but as much as it's a new concept, its principles, the principles of what we call the Cartesian plane, is very, very similar to what we already know. And so let's first start with looking at these pictures that I have up here. We have a picture of the globe over here, and then we have a map. And I'm sure you all have learned in geography about our equators, how they divide our Earth into halves. So we have the equator and we have the prime meridian, or I know some people call it Greenwich meridian. So I'm sure you guys know that. If you don't, you should, because I know you guys learned that in geography. Okay, so Lucille is saying that she did learn about it. This is not exactly our Cartesian plane, but it's a good start to learn about the Cartesian plane. And so what happens, what I want you guys to see here is that think about our Earth. Our Earth is divided into four little parts, and we call them quarters, or you definitely never knew that. Uma, I'm concerned. Let me just adjust the slide. Sorry. Okay, that's better. Okay, so the equator and our prime meridian splits the Earth into four parts. And when we split something, a whole into four, we know we call them quarters. But we can also call it a quadrant. Okay, so these two axes, if you want to call them, split our Earth into four quadrants, okay? And so when we look at that, that is where we get our latitude and longitude lines from. My first, my Greenwich meridian here, as you'll see, if you can't see, it has the coordinate of 0. And then my equator will also have the coordinates of 0. And I think that's on the other side. Yes. As you'll see here, my equator also has the coordinates of 0. And what happens is, as my coordinates go on, as we go to the right, why is SS in maths? Because I'm using this real life example. I'm using something that you guys know to introduce you to the mathematical version of latitude and longitude lines. So what happens is that as we go to the right of my Greenwich meridian, I count upwards 20, 40, 60, and this is east. And as we go to the left, that is west. Okay. And if we look at the equator, when we go upwards, that's north. And when we go downwards, that is south. And so you know then about finding coordinates, right? If I said we're here in South Africa, let's find our coordinates, what would we do? um, what would we do? We would go and we would see, okay, what longitude line would this be? What latitude line would this be? And we could get coordinates for any space that we are on the map. So I'm seeing that you guys are all saying we're in geography, and yes, we are doing geography. But what I want you guys to let me know now is I need another thumbs up, thumbs down. Are you comfortable with using this longitude, latitude? Do you guys know or understand really the concept of finding the of finding these coordinate points? If I say you definitely learned about finding coordinates. Shady is saying in between. Okay, I'm seeing thumbs ups. So now that we know this, now that I know that you guys know this, I want to tell you that learning about the Cartesian plane is going to be fairly simple. Rory-san, we're starting with the maths. We are getting started with the maths right now. And so in maths, we have something similar. We have a similar concept, and it's called a Cartesian plane. Okay. We call it the Cartesian plane. And what it is it's basically what we use when we draw graphs. So usually what you guys would be used to when you draw graphs is when we have a bar graph, we have something like this, right? Let me cook. Thank you, Shady. So we have 0 in the middle, and then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You guys know what this is. You guys know this part of a bar graph. You know that we have what we call the axes of our graphs. And what happens now when we learn about the Cartesian plane is, because we've now also learned about negative numbers, what happens is I have to extend this to have -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay. And then I have -1 and -2. So you can see I can extend both of those lines to include negative numbers. And this is really what our Cartesian plane is. And it's still what you know. It's still what we use to draw graphs, except now your graphs are going to look different. Instead of having graphs where you have these bars, your graphs are going to look something like that. That is going to be what your graphs look like. Your graphs can look like that. This is what we use to draw our graphs from now on. And so what happens is, and I'm seeing the question, why is the 0 in the middle? Think about a number line. Okay, it starts at 0 and then it goes 1. Oh, I just said 1 and wrote 2. Then it goes 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then this one goes -1, -2. Now I'm drawing this other axis right in the center of that. And so this is my middle point. Okay. And so I'm making this middle point also be 0 for my vertical number line. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay. So it's very similar to what is here on our map. If you have a look at this equator line over here, this is 0, right? And this is 0. So when we meet in the middle here, the coordinates is 0 and 0, because on my longitude lines, it's 0 degrees, and with my latitude lines, it's also 0 degrees. And so this is basically what my Cartesian plane is, if you have a look at that, guys. All that happens is we number our things on the number line like this, instead of having lines that go all the way up or all the way down. So I'm hoping that guys, that makes sense. Sorry, I was reading this question. No DMs. Yes. Yes, Alia, you're right. It shows the exact middle of the Earth for the equator and prime meridian. Yes, so you can relate why the 0 is in the middle of our Cartesian plane exactly to our longitude and latitude lines. So that's that. Now, if we have a look at some important features of our Cartesian plane, The first thing that you have to know is that our Cartesian plane is made up of what we call axes. So it's one axis. So we have one axis and two axes. Okay. And what are my axes? My axes are these. It is this line over here. Okay, I didn't get it exactly on. Let me try that again. And let's use a different color. So this, I don't know why it's not going on where I want it to, but just act like it's on, okay? So these are my axes, and this is what basically makes up my Cartesian plane, okay? And so what happens is we have to label each one of these axes. Like we know, we have longitude and latitude. What we have here is we have to label our axes as well. And so when we have the horizontal axis, horizontal, by the way, is this one over here. The horizontal axis is what we call our x-axis, and our vertical axis. I can select and move the line, but it's difficult because I'm using a pen. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. And we have our vertical axis, which is called the y-axis. Now, how do I remember this? Okay, the way I remember it is my teacher taught me to say y to the sky. That rhymes. It makes sense. This line that is going upwards is pointing towards the sky. Yeah, that's that. That's how I remember it. So y to the sky. And then obviously the other one is left to be x. So that is the main focal point of our axes. And what is our axis? It's basically just two number lines. That's all that it is. And they both start at this middle point. This middle point is what we call our origin. Okay. So we've now learned about two important features. We've learned that we have an x and a y axis. And now we've learned that where those two axes meet is we call that place the origin. And Itandile has a question. So let us see what she has to say. Yes, Itandile.
Okay. Hi, ma'am. Ma'am,
Hi.
I wanted to ask,
Mm-hmm.
does like between the origin and
Mm-hmm.
the other side of the y-axis, where the y is, ma'am,
Mm-hmm.
does it have to be equal? It's like you have to keep these certain lines for the origin, and then
Yes. So think about when you were doing like your bar graph labeling, right? You can't make this one and then the next line is six, right? It has to go in order. It goes one, two, three, or if you count it in twos, you could go two, four. But as long as it's in that even numbers, in even scale, then that's okay. But generally, when we're dealing with the Cartesian plane itself, we always go in ones. One, two, three, four. Okay.
yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Itandila has led us up to our next point, is that what happens is on my number lines, both of my number lines, we have zero in the middle, okay? And that is what we call our origin. And let me look at Alia's question quickly. Is the Cartesian plane the space along both the equator and prime Greenwich meridian? Or is it the two-dimensional coordinate of both? Okay, so I don't really understand what your question is, but what I do want to say is that this is a mathematical concept. So it does not, the Cartesian plane is not dealing with the Earth itself. The only thing that I did, why I introduced it like this, was so that you could relate it to something that you know. But in maths, we have the Cartesian plane, which has similar features to our longitude and latitude lines and the equator and the Greenwich meridian, but it's not that. So the Cartesian plane actually doesn't deal with the equator or Greenwich meridian at all. I only introduced it like this to show you how the concepts are kind of similar. So Alia, I hope that answers your question. I'm just going to read it again to see. Is the Cartesian plane the space along the equator? So you're talking about the space along the equator and that, or is it the two-dimensional coordinates of both? Yes, so when we're dealing with our Cartesian plane, specifically with our Cartesian plane, the Cartesian plane includes both our axes as well as all of the space that it covers. So all of this is called the Cartesian plane. The whole thing. It's not just the axes. It's not just the space around it. It's all of it makes up the Cartesian plane. And so, Alia, I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, you can let me know either in the chat or raise your hand. I think that would be better to talk about it. It is a holiday tomorrow, Leah. You understand? Okay, great, Alia. And so, yes, as I was saying, what our axis is it's really just a number line. And so you can see I started numbering this number line vertically over here, and it's going to go 5. And now what do we know about number lines? Number lines also have negative numbers, okay? -3, -4, -5. And when I'm numbering my x-axis, remember, just think of it as number lines. I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we know it also has negatives. And so on the left of the 0 is where our negatives start at -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, and let's go -6 because I did that there. Okay, so this is what we are dealing with so far with our Cartesian plane. We have seen now that we have an x-axis, we have a y-axis. The y-axis is, we remember it by going y to the sky, so it's the vertical axis, it's the one that points upwards. And then we also have our x-axis, which is the leftover one, it's the horizontal one. So we use this to get a certain area. No, what we use this for is we now use this to draw our graphs. So from this point on, you'll hardly ever see a bar graph ever again. We have now different forms of graphs. And we'll get to that soon, Layla. But yes, for now, this is what you're going to be using when you draw graphs. So instead of having a bar graph like what you would have been used to, we have different types of graphs now. And so instead of seeing these bars, you'll see something that's different to what you know. But for now, just focus on learning and understanding what this Cartesian plane is. Okay. And so this is what we know so far. We have the origin, we have our x and our y axis, and then on the x and the y axis, we have all of these numbers. We have it numbered like a number line. For my y axis, above 0 is all positive numbers, and below 0 is all negative numbers. For my x axis, to the right of 0 is all positive numbers, and to the left of 0 is all my negative numbers. That would be nice, Alia. Surprise your geo teacher with maps. Okay, so these are basically the important features of a Cartesian plane. Now you might be saying, okay, but I still don't get like what is the Cartesian plane? It's this whole thing is a Cartesian plane. It's just a space, basically. It's a space that we create to draw our graphs on. And so what you also should know is that this number line will continue up until infinity, and this will continue up until infinity. So will it here, and so, so will it here. Can we do Afrikaans later? Unfortunately not, Rorisang. I'm not an Afrikaans teacher. Okay, but these are my features of the Cartesian plane. So again, can we get a thumbs up? Itandile, I see your hand is raised. Was it raised from before? Or do you have a question?
Ma'am, I have a question. Ma'am,
Yes.
since like your y and your x-axis, ma'am, are your negative numbers always going to be at the bottom of your origin and at the side of your origin, on the left side of your origin, or
So
is it gonna
yes.
change?
Yes. So for your x-axis, like I'm saying, if zero is in the middle, think about a normal number line. If zero is in the middle of a number line that is going horizontally, we always have positive numbers on the right and we always have negative numbers on the left. So that is never going to change for my x-axis. And for my
Okay.
y-axis, think about a thermometer for this. Think about temperature. When we
Yes,
have
ma'am.
zero, anything that goes above zero is always going to be positive numbers. And as soon as we start going below zero, those are all going to be negative numbers.
Yes, ma'am.
Happy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Bria, I see you've given me a thumbs up already. Can everybody else please let me know how they're feeling? Is this feeling a little bit more comfortable? Are we understanding what's going on here? Uma, you're saying mid, and what's for the brain break? It's a surprise because honestly, I don't even know. I can't remember what I prepped. Okay, Leila, do you want to raise your hand and tell me what's confusing you? Yes.
The thing that's confusing me is the whole the uh the sus the Cartesian plane itself, the way it's built,
Mhm.
the way
Yes.
it's formed.
Okay, what about the way it's formed? Is it the two axes, the x and the y?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so think about a grid. Okay, you think about a grid, right? I'm sure you've done those grids where there's like A, B, C, D, and then over here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You've done those grids before, right? Yes, no, Leila? Leila, you are muted.
Sorry, ma'am.
Yes. Have you done grids like this before? And then they say find block A2, and then you go A2, and this is block A2.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
I've
That's
done it.
You've done them. That's
Yes, ma'am.
basically what this is. Except now, what we've done is we've got numbers on both sides, and we have extended this to include positive and negative numbers. Are you
Okay,
seeing that?
ma'am. Yes, I see that, ma'am.
Does that make
And
a
I have
bit
a
more
question.
sense?
Is it possible to have both positive and negative, like on the same, how do I explain this? Like positive, like the way you just explained it, is it possible to like use both the positive and negative like on the same side?
Yes. Well, let me show you. Let me show you, Leila. Stay here with me. You can just mute yourself for now. But what I want to show you guys is
Yeah, ma'am.
now that we have set up our Cartesian plane, this is basically just setting it up. Now I'm going to show you how we actually use the Cartesian plane. And so let's say this is my Cartesian plane and I'm sitting here. Okay. This is my little house. Okay. This is my house. Okay. What I want you guys to see is I can use this Cartesian plane to get coordinates. In the same way you can get coordinates with longitude and latitude lines, you can get coordinates here of my house that's on this Cartesian plane. And how do I do that? When we write out coordinates, we have a certain way that we do it. Same like when you do coordinates with longitude and latitude, you always do, you always do, I think it's latitude first and then longitude. You guys can correct me. I did geography a long time ago. But in maths, the way we write our coordinates is we go x value first and then my y value. So, Layla, what I want you to tell me here is if you look at my house, what would you say my x value is? The x coordinate of my house is?
I would say 4.
You are 100% correct. And what is the y coordinate?
Wait, 4 again.
Also 4. Okay, so that's also 4. So my coordinates for the house is 4 and 4. Now, Leila, what I want you to see is, let's look at this one over here. Okay, maybe this is the park. Okay, can you tell me what is the coordinates of the park?
The x coordinates is -4, and the y coordinates is 2.
2, exactly. So I don't know if this was what you were asking, but look at what
It
we
was,
have
ma'am.
here. We have a negative and we have a positive in terms of coordinates. So does that answer your question? Are you happy with that now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Pleasure. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions on this? Are we all happy with finding coordinates, by the way? All we do is we have to always find our x value first and our y value second. How do I find my x value? I just go to my point and I draw this little dotted line and I see what number do I end up at. And that is how Leila got -4 over here. And then to see my y value, I'm going to draw a dotted line from my point to my y-axis. It is a geography type of thing. And we see on our y-axis that value is 2, and that's how we got 2 over there. And then this is it's a very specific format that we have to write it. We have to put it in brackets, and we have to have this semicolon in the middle. Yes, Itandile.
Ma'am, I have 2 questions, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, always on the right side is on the positive is always there's always going to be one line of negatives. It's not going to be a whole entire line of negatives.
Yes, because think about a number line. We can't have only negatives on a number line. If we were to do it differently, I mean, what we could do is maybe we don't draw the whole thing and maybe we only have 1 here. Maybe we only have 1, right? But it's still going to be 0 and it's still going to be -1. It's still going to be -2. It's still going to be -3 here. The only difference is the way that we've drawn it. In this case, we've only drawn a portion of my Cartesian plane. But if I were to draw the full Cartesian plane, it would still extend to include 2, 3, and 4. Is that what you were asking?
Ma'am.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I was meant to erase, not scribble. Okay, so that is that. I'm not seeing any other questions. Oh, Itanila, you said you had 2 questions. That was 1.
Yes, ma'am. The second one, ma'am. What if, ma'am, the x, you start with the y, and then the x, and you go last? Are you wrong?
Yes.
Automatically wrong? Not
Yes.
even a little right?
Because look at this, right? Here I said the park is at -4 and 2. What if I wrote it as 2 and -4? Look at where we would end up on the Cartesian plane. 2 is here, because remember, we always have to do my x value first. So 2 is here, and -4 is down here for my y. So can you see, this is a very different place to where my park is over here.
Yes, ma'am.
So they actually show different places. So yes, we always have to do x first and then y. If you don't, you are wrong, unfortunately.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Bree had a question. Yes, Bree.
Hi, ma'am. This may be a little unrelated on what we're doing, but like, since we have 4:4, is it possible to like simplify it even further, or it's fine the way it is?
I didn't hear that. Since we have 4,
Is to 4, is it necessary, or is there a way to simplify it?
to simplify this Cartesian plane.
Yeah, the 4:4, once you have your
This
entire
here, this over here.
Yes.
Okay, so these are what we call coordinates. So we have an x coordinate and we have a y coordinate, and when we put them together, we call them a coordinate pair. So maybe I should mention that. It's called a coordinate pair. And no, there is unfortunately no easier way to do it. It is simply x and y. And then the specific format is we have to have brackets and we have to have that colon in the middle. Happy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Yes, we are gonna go straight into a brain break after this. But as I said, when we do our coordinates, guys, we have an x coordinate. We have a y coordinate. Oh boy. We have a y coordinate. And when we put them together, it gives us this little guy, which we call a coordinate pair. So you may hear your teacher talk about a coordinate pair. You may hear your teacher talk about a ordered pair. Either way, they mean the same thing. They're talking about the same thing. Yeah, and that's it. This is how we find coordinates. So, Nkuli, you said you had a question. Sorry, I didn't see. You're constantly being kicked out. This is not the function and relationships you learned. We're getting there. We're getting there. Today, we're dealing with just introducing you to the Cartesian plane. On Thursday, you'll see something that will look a little bit more familiar to what you learned, which is tables and maybe flow diagrams. I'm sure that's the kind of relationships and functions you have learned, but it all ties in together, and you'll see by the end of this topic, we would have covered everything there is to cover on this. Okay. So, Nkuli, I hope that answers your question. You can just let me know yes or no before I go into the brain break. Also, Alia, your question you said, so the x value will always be on the horizontal line and the y will always be on the vertical line. Yes, 100%. Yes. Okay, Nkuli says yes. So into a brain break we go. Okay, for all our new friends, we have a brain break every lesson, and what we do is we usually play One Must Go. So Uma, I hope you're happy. It's One Must Go. Okay, guys, don't think about the pictures. I couldn't find pictures that represented the colors well. Okay, but yes, this is what we're dealing with. Think about real life colors. In real life, would you get rid? We're playing One Must Go, so which one would you get rid of? Normal colors, neon colors, pastel or pastel? I don't know who says pastel, but some people do. Or nudes. Yes, Itandile.
Ma'am, I don't like. In my defense, people might hate me. I don't like neon colors. They're too bright. And you know what's so smart? People wear them in winter. Think about that. They wear them in winter.
Okay, fine. On clothes, it's weird, right? But think about like those like Lumo signs. You know the ones I'm talking about that
No,
like
ma'am.
glow.
It doesn't make sense anyway. It's like weird. It's blinding. Everything is just irritating about neon colors. It is irritating, ma'am. If I was someone who was actually right in my head, I wasn't gonna like neon colors. I would like nudes because like I'm a very darkish person. I really like nude colors. Pastel, I just like the vibration type of texture. Normal colors are just normal. Then neon is irritating. And the worst part is that they put them in winter. People who don't know how to dress, they put them in winter.
If it makes you feel better, everybody is agreeing with you in the chat. Let's see if Liaho agrees. Let's see what Liaho has to say. Thanks, Itandile. Liaho.
Ma'am, I definitely agree, ma'am. Like neon colors, ma'am, they're too bright. It's like you're watching Power Rangers. Like, yo, it can get on your face, yo.
I mean, don't you like Power Rangers?
No, ma'am, I don't. I used to watch it like long time. I think when I was like 9, somewhere there. When I was 9 or 10. But yeah, but it's too bright.
Okay. I'm just gonna respect. Well, actually, I don't know what I would say. So yeah, maybe I'll agree with you, Liaho.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Bree.
Ma'am, I'm gonna have to disagree with Italila and Liajo. Personally,
Okay.
I'll get rid of nude because,
Okay.
like, why was the color created? Who and what for? And there's a lot of confusion where you were when you wear the color, so it's just not it for me.
Okay, I get it, but I really like the like browns and beiges, especially for like houses and also clothes. Like I just think they go well.
Yeah, but recently I fell in love with pastel colors, so
So, yeah, I also.
yeah.
Yeah, Bri and I feel like we're on the same page. Let's see what Nkuli has to say. Nkuli, you're the last one I'm taking for this one, then we're gonna move on to a new one.
Okay, ma'am. I'm just gonna say normal has to leave because we learned about it in the first grade and now we're gone from the first grade, so it's time to go. It's time to grow up.
But like, yeah, okay. I get that. But like there's so many things that are just like normal colors, you know? So how would you even get rid of that?
Ma'am, normal colors, I guess they're cool, but like neon and nudes and pastel things, they're so beautiful, especially in highlighters. Normal highlighters, it's not
Yeah,
giving.
okay, okay. I agree. I agree. Also, guys, I don't know what's going on in the chat. But let's all be nice and respectful. Thank you, and thank you, Nkuli, for that answer. Um, yeah. Okay, guys, let's not do this. Why are we doing this? I've never had a problem with you guys. Let's all just ignore that chat that's going on from now on. Um, okay, new one. Chocolate cake, carrot cake, vanilla cake, red velvet cake. Um, immediately Refluer says carrot. And as usual, guys, I do want to take hands from people I haven't heard before. So Bri, Kuli, Tandile. If we have time, I'll take you guys. But for now, Rory-san, yes.
Ma'am, I won't lie, I don't like chocolate, like it's too sweet. They all
Oh
take
my God.
vanilla and the carrot cake.
So what you're saying is you get rid of chocolate.
Yeah, I don't like chocolate. It's too sweet. And
Oh my
ish,
word. I didn't
like
expect to hear that.
it doesn't look nice, it looks gross. I like simple things.
Okay, I can respect that, Rory-san. I mean, I don't agree, but I can respect that.
Yes. Thank you.
Pleasure. Let's ask Leila what he thinks.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
I think red velvet or carrot cake has to go. The flavor is not, it's not good, ma'am. Compared to chocolate cake, the sweetness is peak, and vanilla is vanilla. Everyone likes vanilla, ma'am.
Yeah, I see that. But like vanilla is boring.
Well, other flavors would not happen without vanilla. Vanilla is the origin of all other flavors.
That is also true. Okay, I see you. I see you. I get that. If you were saying why are you putting veggies into a cake? I know, but it works. It works. If it works, it works, guys. Yeah. Yeah, Leila. So yeah, I think I don't know. The thing I like about red velvet cake is the icing. Like the combination of the cake and the icing on red velvet. It just does it for me, you know?
The icing for me is too sweet, ma'am.
Oh
I
no.
cannot agree, but I respect that.
Okay, throwing my line back at me. Cool, cool, cool. Thanks, Leila.
You're welcome.
Okay, Itandile, I'm gonna no. Let's move on because we have 2 minutes left for our brain break. Uh, um, okay, guys. I don't know what you guys are buying at the tuck shop, but this is what I used to buy at the tuck shop. Okay. Coke bottles, sour worms, tongues, or dog bones. Okay, personally, I have no idea. I love Coke bottles, so definitely not Coke bottles. I'm gonna have to say the bones. I would have to get rid of the bones. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have to get rid of bones. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hands up. I'm taking those 4 hands. And that's gonna be the end of our brain break. Yes, Nkuli.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi again.
Can I quickly answer the last one and then come back to this one?
We only have like a minute and a half left, so I'm gonna ask you to please skip your last one and just go into this one.
Okay, so I want to get rid of the bones because Mr. Bones was nice, ne? But it's time.
Wow, I
After
actually
that
forgot
solid
about that.
scene, after that solid scene, it's just not okay. I'm gonna have to say bye, Bones.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Nkuli. Let's see what Itandile says.
Ma'am, got a lot to say. Ma'am,
Mhm.
no way. In my opinion, in my defense, basically, ma'am, who would like for what reason would you go away with with sour worms? Because I saw in the chat that someone saying that no, I'll take away the sour worms. What are you thinking? At least take away the Coke bottles. At least no one liked those. No, my
I
defense, no one.
can't believe you said
Man,
that.
no one liked those. Man, no one liked those.
I
You
love
can
them.
all the dog bones, like you can take that. And the tongue and the sour worms, y'all can stay.
Okay,
I
Itandile.
I
I
just
agree with
never
you.
liked the Coke
I'll agree with
bottles.
you on the dog bones.
Like the like the Coke bottles, like something was wrong with them. They were missing a little something. They were missing a little
Ah,
something.
I'm ending our conversation here because I have nothing to say to that because I love Coke bottles. Anyways, thank you, Itandile.
You man.
Let's ask Liako what he has to say.
Ma'am, I'm definitely gonna get rid of dog bones. Definitely, ma'am. But ma'am, for me, I think tongues are the best. Coke bottles are tasty, sour worms are too sour, but I'll keep them.
But sometimes the sour worms, they're not sour. Sometimes it's just like gummy worms, you know? I like the ones that
Yeah,
are
true.
yeah.
True-ish, yeah. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
well, I agree with you. If you're saying dog bones, I agree with you. And you said Coke bottles were nice, so I'm happy.
Yes, ma'am.
Rory-san, let's see, what is your opinion?
Ma'am, I'll like take all of them out, but only leave the tongues because I grew up with those sweets, and those sweets were like, yo, they were in now, like they're ready to find.
I never used to buy tongues at the tuck shop because tongues were always like more expensive than the
But I
other
also
sweets.
like the Coke bottles. I think it
Thank you, Rory-san.
tastes to them. I don't remember when, but I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rory-san. Well, not agree. I don't agree with getting rid of all of them, but I agree that tongues are good. I agree.
Oh, at my place was R1, but
Okay, guys, that was that for the brain break. Uma, I saw you said you don't eat sweets, which is crazy, but I mean, good on you. You know, they're bad for you anyways. What was I doing? Moving on. Okay. Inflation goes hard. Yes, tongues are now 5 rand, guys. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Anyway, sorry, let's carry on with our lesson. So we are now going to practice reading coordinates of the Cartesian plane. I would like to ask for volunteers, please. Layla? Yes.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi. You volunteering to read off some of these points for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat quickly. Okay, yes. Okay, read off points. Which ones do you want to do? You can pick any two you want to do.
I would like to do B
Mm-hmm.
and M. I like to do
Okay.
B and M.
B and M. Okay, that's cool. So let's start with B. What are my coordinates? Tell me exactly what to write. So I want you to say open bracket, number, semicolon, number, close
Okay,
bracket.
ma'am. Okay,
Okay.
ma'am. First thing, open bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Open bracket 3.
Let's remember my format.
Okay, ma'am. 1,
Mm-hmm.
comma, semicolon,
Mm-hmm.
3,
3, good job. M?
close bracket.
Yes. Oh, yes, I did that for you. Sorry. Yes, but close bracket. Good job. Let's try M. Yes, what is that?
M is open bracket.
Mm-hmm.
-6,
Mm-hmm.
semicolon,
Mm-hmm.
0.
0. Super good job. Thank you, Layla. You did wonderfully with those two,
Thank
and I'm
you.
happy to see that you're understanding. Who is next? Itandile, yes.
So, ma'am, I would like to do Q and I.
Q and I. Okay, let's go. Start with Q.
Yes, ma'am. So it is open bracket, -7, semicolon, and then -5.
100%. Oh, and close bracket. I did that for you, but I knew you knew.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I is open bracket 4, semicolon, -3, and close bracket.
100%. Thank you, Itandile. Let us
Bye-bye.
move on to refuelware. Yes, refuelware. Which ones do you want to do for us? Oh, refuelware has disappeared. Also, guys, I was reading the chat. I'm seeing chats about sweets. I know it's crazy, the prices of sweets, but let us please not talk about them anymore because I don't know if I'm missing questions. If you did ask a question, please type it in the chat again if I haven't answered it. Rory Sang, yes.
Ma'am, can try C
Mm-hmm.
and L.
C and L. Okay, let's
C,
go.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it's brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, C, I think it's brackets 2 and then semicolon 6.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now what I want you to look for me, Rory-san, is look at our format that we're supposed to use. We're supposed to do our X first and then our Y. So remember, this is my X and this is my Y. So try that again for me. You
Oh.
said open brackets, you were correct. Now, what is my X value first?
6.
100%. And then what is my Y value?
And then 2.
Thank you very much. And you said you wanted to do C and L. So let's do L.
-4.
Open brackets, yes,
No,
-4.
brackets.
Mm-hmm.
And then semicolon
Mm-hmm.
and 4.
And 4. 100%. Beautifully done, Rory-san. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we'll talk to Refuelware, and I think Refuelware will be the last one that we do, depending on whether or not it's working now. Refuelware. If your mic is not working, you are more than welcome to type in the chat and tell me which ones you want to do. P. Okay, so we're starting with P. Tell me, what am I doing? You can type it out. What is my coordinates? My coordinate pair. Open brackets. -4, 100% correct. For anybody who's confused on how he got -4, he wanted to get our x value first. So you just draw that imaginary dotted line from the point to your x-axis and you get -4. Refuelware is then saying semicolon, yes. And then I lost what Refuelware was saying. Semicolon and -3 close brackets. 100% Refuelware. Thank you for that. Bree, not 2. I think you were doing the same one, not 2. My y value is not 2 because if you look at this imaginary dotted line I was gonna draw, it ended up at this value over there, which was -3. Okay, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of our lesson. We are officially at 6:30. So thank you, Refuelware, for closing off for us.